The best thing about my dad is that he could break into song like a 1950s musical. Anytime something happened, he'd just start singing about something and a song he remembered. Usually silly songs or fraternity songs, but he loved to sing.
Grandpa G was one of the most generous people I've ever known. He was very thoughtful and kind with his time, his talents, and his money. He provided many vacation homes for us and trips for his grandchildren and his children, and I'll forever be grateful for those memories that have been built in these places.
Grandpa G is so pure. I love his heart. I remember being little and just coming up to Utah being so excited to go to bed so I could hear his bedtime stories and just do the little things. He would just take us on adventures to the zoo and anywhere around Utah, and we would make pencils in his wood shop and do all sorts of fun little random things. And little did I know when I was a little girl that those memories would become some of my most precious ones. I am so grateful for all of the advice that he gave me about dating and life and missions and everything. He just felt like this book full of knowledge that you could go to if you needed anything. You could go to him with questions about the gospel or life or anything. He just was so helpful in that way, and I'm just forever grateful for that and for all the things that I was able to learn from him.
My dad is the greatest dad of any guy around. He is full of life and full of love. My dad is generous and kind, and just when everybody says anything, they say, "Oh, Dave Gillette, what a great guy." Now, this, of course, is Michelle, his favorite daughter. Don't let Heather or anyone else tell you differently, because I win. The great thing about him is that he always makes everyone feel like they are his favorite. And he, from the time I was a little girl, my dad would sing a song about his little girl being sweet as peaches and cream. And he would sing it and always share love. And that's how I felt always. He would always encourage me and tell me I could do anything and that I was a natural athlete. And he just always helped me when I made mistakes. He was easy to go to when times were tough, and when life was really hard, he was an easy shoulder to cry on. My dad was so generous, and he adored his grandchildren, absolutely adored them. And he gave very questionable advice to them, like always kiss the boy on the first date. That way you're guaranteed a second date. And of course, he didn't give us that advice when we were growing up to his daughters. But he is just an all-around amazing human being. And I love him, I love him, I love him, and I can't wait to be with him again.
Dear Grandpa, happy birthday to you.
Blow out those candles, Grandpa.
Make a wish, Grandpa.
Hey, blow them out.
Blow out the candles.
Hey, no!
How old are you, Dad?
How old am I?
Yeah.
Tell the camera.
Well, I am 82 or 28 or...
I love my grandpa because he was always interested in me and what I like to do, such as playing cards, watching magic reveal shows, go to the zoo, and swim. He also taught me to ski, ride a bike, and started my interest in tennis.
What would you like your grandchildren to say about you?
He was very honest. He was very generous. He loved the grandchildren, and he loved to play with the grandchildren.
There are many things that I admired about my father-in-law. Even when his health was declining, he never complained. I'd ask him, "How are you doing, Papa?" And he'd say, "Pretty good," with a smile on his face. I loved his smile. He always looked happy. He was loving and very personable person. He never let his love for you be overshadowed by any conflict. Dave was always a very involved father and grandfather. He loved spending time with his grandchildren and playing with them at their level. I am grateful for his example of true Christ-like love and his ability to be friendly with everyone. I will miss him dearly. He was a wonderful father-in-law.
One of my favorite memories of Granddad was the day I took him for a ride in the '65 Mustang that he helped me finance and restore. The smile on his face in that moment and his loving, supportive character are things I'll never forget about him. I love you, Granddad.
Something that I loved about my grandpa is that he would always come to every one of my shows, no matter what part I was playing, and he would be there no matter how far he had to travel or how long I had to stay, and make me feel like I was so special and loved.
What do you love to learn about?
I love to learn about animals, and like I'm always learning about sharks.
You are?
Yeah, sharks
I
in the
never knew
water.
about that.
Well, I don't say much about it, I just do it.
One of my favorite things about Grandpa G is that he was always so welcoming whenever we would come over to his house, and always just made me feel so important. Even when we would drive up from Arizona after a 12-hour car ride, even if we rolled up at midnight, he would be standing outside with Grandma with open arms welcoming us to Utah, and we would just breathe in the mountain air together. And then that was followed by his amazing stories that he would always tell the same story but just different versions every time, and he would ask us if we wanted them to be scary or funny every time. And then when we woke up, we would have his famous French toast with tons of butter and lots of syrup, and it was so yummy. So my favorite thing about him is that he was just always so welcoming, and I could always get a hug and a kiss on the lips whenever I wanted from Grandpa G. He was the best boyfriend until I married Peter, so love him so much.
This is my dad's favorite daughter, Heather. My dad had the unique ability to make everybody feel loved, special, and like they were his very best friend. My dad was funny, generous, kind, loving, and was always fun to be around. Thank you, Dad, for all you did for me in my life. I love you so much.
There are so many things that I could say about Grandpa G and how amazing he is, but two of my favorite things about him were A, how supportive he always was. He would come to every single play and dance recital, no matter if we were the tree in the background of the background or the front of the stage. He was always there, would come to every show. And another favorite thing that I loved was playing downstairs in his wood shop workshop, and we would do little projects and little creative things, and he would help us paint and build things, and it was so much fun to go down there and have this new little world with him. It was truly magic.
Grandpa G is someone who really meant a lot to me. He gave me a love for traveling. He gave me a love for golf. I really enjoyed how much time we got to spend together when I lived with him and Grandma G. It was just so fun, and I loved hanging out and watching jazz games and just being able to talk to him. He was such a good guy, and I loved always being able to get the family secrets out of him, and you didn't even have to ask. That's the best part. So I'm really going to miss you, Granddad. Love you.
This is Dalton, and one of my favorite qualities about Grandpa G was just how he was always so loving and kind. And one of my favorite memories, when I was younger, I was playing golf with him. He was kind of teaching me how to play, and we were about 80 yards away from a rock, and he just pointed at the rock and was showing me where to aim. He said, "You want to aim right for that rock over there." And he went first and was shooting his ball to show me where to go, and he ended up hitting the rock that he was aiming for 80 yards away. So not only was he a great guy, but he was a great golfer as well.
One of my favorite memories about Grandpa G
was when Jordan and I were living in their basement for a little while between housing situations, which first of all was very nice of them to let us just come at a moment's notice and live in their house. And they were so generous with us and fed us their food, and they made my birthday really special when I was there. But it was around Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas time that we were there, and Grandpa G and I would watch a Hallmark movie every night, starting Halloween night, leading up to Christmas. And I looked forward to that every night. I was working a pretty tough job at the time, but it was so nice to get to sit by him and watch a cheesy Christmas movie. And I'll just never forget that. It was so magical and special, and he's going to be so missed.
I have countless memories spending afternoons and having sleepovers at Grandma and Grandpa's house. I loved going golfing with Grandpa when I was little. One of my first memories is being, I don't know how old I was, maybe 8. I felt like I was really little, and he would let me drive the golf cart while he went around and went golfing. And I thought that was the funnest thing ever. I had never driven anything before. I also loved going to the zoo with Grandpa. We would go all the time, and we'd sing the zoo song, and we'd ride the train. I also loved going swimming at Grandma and Grandpa's house all the time. And Grandpa used to bake me into a cookie in the hot tub. He would add the flour and the eggs and the sugar and the chocolate chips, and he'd tickle me, and then he would bake us by dunking us under the water. He was the best grandpa ever, and we're gonna miss him so much.
Those classes.
What a snake! I love you!
Something that's always stood out to me about Granddad is that he is just interested in each of us as individual people, as his grandchildren. I was living with Grandma and Granddad for over a year, and he found time every day to seek me out and connect with me about things that had happened in my day, who I was talking to, what I was watching, anything. He just wanted to talk to me. He wanted to be a part of my life, and he wanted to know me, even when the things I was interested in were definitely not interesting to him. We've had so many deep discussions about things that we agree on and things that we don't agree on, and I've always felt safe and loved and welcomed in his arms and in his home. And we loved to sing together too. His love of music was always so inspiring for me. I love theater and I love music, and the Rodgers and Hammerstein songbook will forever make me think of my granddad. We spent hours after we saw South Pacific, him, me, and Grandma all together, talking about the music and how much we loved it, and singing those songs for weeks afterward. I would just start singing one, and I would hear him across the house just finishing the refrain. And when I was able to perform in South Pacific a few years later, he was there and so proud, and I will always think of him when I hear those songs.
What makes you smile?
To see my grandchildren play.
What makes you feel great about yourself?
That I've lived a good life.
You have.
Very good life, and I've got wonderful grandchildren.
Yeah.
And they're fun to be around.
Oh, we're going to a hooky how. Hooky, 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 hooky how. Everybody loves a hooky how. For the lao is the cacao at the ding. Oh, you throw your nets out into the sea, and all the yummy yummy come a swimming to me. Oh, we're going to the hooky lao.
To wait for breakfast.
Hooky, 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 lao.
Oh, no, put it on.